Studio Ghibli, one of the most well-known names in anime and in the medium of animation in general. The studio behind such films like My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, and a ton more. Many of the films that made Ghibli such a well-known name had Hayao Miyazaki behind them. His films are so iconic in general that his name and all his work is recognized all over the world, even to a mainstream audience. His popularity grew because of how his movies were treated outside Japan, getting really good theatrical and home video releases of the highest quality. It is amazing how his films are so accessible to anyone today, but all of that almost didn't happen. A world where all his films were not available officially outside of Japan, and where his name would only be known to a niche crowd. To talk about this almost reality, we have to go back to the year 1984. That year, his first original film was released, that being Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Nausicaa was a huge hit, getting positive reception from critics and commercially. Its budget being 1.08 billion yen, which roughly translates to 9,639,000 US dollars, but that is for the year 1984. How much would that be today? Well, that translates to almost $23 million. It grossed 1.48 billion yen and made 742 million yen in rentals as well. Adding both numbers together and converting it today, it made $47,335,834. It doubled its budget. Nausicaa even won a ton of awards, one being Best Japanese Film for that year. Miyazaki's directorial debut was the critically well-received Lupin III and the Castle of Cagliostro. And with Nausicaa being a runaway success, his name became well-known, and with that came the desire for him to export his work outside of Japan. So he did. Nausicaa would be licensed by New World Pictures. It was an independent American production and distribution company that was founded in 1970. New World Pictures distributed many foreign films before Nausicaa. They were known as the ones who introduced a lot of foreign films to a big US audience, and even won many Academy Awards for those movies. So Nausicaa being a huge hit, they got the license, and a year later, it would be released in theaters in the US with a VHS shortly after. But the film that was shown was not the same version as the one Japan saw. It's pretty much well known at this point about the awfulness that is late 90s to early 2000s dubbing and localization.
Shoot this Nami or I'll butter you and batter you and deep fry you in oil till you're nothing but fish sticks.
Listen to this pirate defending his lady. She's no lady, she's a liar, pants on fire.
But Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind got hit with something very much like that in 1985. New World edited Nausicaa a lot and took out so many scenes that added up to 23 minutes and 36 seconds of footage being cut from the film. If you think that is bad, New World even changed the title from Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind to Warriors of the Wind, and all the promotional art was changed. The amazing Japanese poster that shows so much and so little at the same time, showing our titular character in the midst of battle with so much dark colors and shading, gives this great sense of danger. It makes me so interested in the film by itself. Even this second one is beautiful, showing parts of the landscape and interesting imagery, has this great sense of wonder and beauty. Both posters are so different, yet they are still true to Nausicaa, and they say nothing about the film. They went from these amazing posters to this. A poster that has 3 characters that are not in the film at all, on top of a monster that I assume is the giant warrior from the end of the film. And now that I get a better look at it, the guy on the right is a giant warrior. Also, there's a guy riding a Pegasus, and I guess that is Nausicaa on the top right. Oh wait, I mean Zandra. The text on the poster doesn't help either. This poster is such a giant mess, which may actually be a good representation for the movie, now that I think about it. Nausicaa was dumbed down and marketed as a kid action adventure movie, which is why so many scenes were cut from the film, and in doing so, losing the overall environmental message of it. So, let's talk about the cuts. I originally planned on watching Warriors Warriors of the Wind to see how the movie was actually cut together, but it is super hard to find on the web. Trust me, I was looking for a version of it online, and while I did find one, it was in German, so it was a no-go. But there is footage of it online, so I have to go off reports from other people. The first thing that was cut was the opening credit scene. This beautiful art that was painted and carefully crafted, showing so much detail in the color and text, with the cuts showing the giant warriors from the past destroying the land. It is just enough that gets the viewer interested in the movie from the start. The next thing that got cut were some scenes when Nausicaa finds the Ohm shell. The entire scene of Nausicaa getting through the toxic jungle is legit one of, or my favorite scene in the entire film. I love it because without a word conveys the sense of experience and knowledge from our young heroine. Calmly getting through the jungle and then finding the shell and becoming excited when she sees it. It tells us of the scarcity of the world, but also that she has lived in this world for a long time. Her getting on the shell and what she does to test its hardness, with her commenting how her people can use it for material, gets the idea across even more and also makes us want to learn what this huge tough thing is. This was also cut. My other favorite scene is when she wants to get the Ohm eyelid. I love that she already knows how hard the Ohm shell is, so she gets a gun shell from one of her pockets and spreads the gunpowder around it, and then lights it with the spark from her gun. She does all this without a second thought, showing her resourcefulness. The entire scene is so well done and I love it so much. It's also gone. The way it was cut makes it that she finds the shell and immediately takes off the eyelid, which takes so much away from her character. The entire jungle scene does this great job at conveying dangerous beauty. The scene is just showing the amazing art of Kazuo Ebizawa, who has made amazing background art for other anime projects, one of my favorites being Akira, and with Michio Yusada's color design, it was an amazing thing to look at. The whole scene wraps up when Nausicaa just decides to lay down under the eyelid while the poisonous spores start to fall and cover her. She calmly watches the spores fall like it's snow and then comment how dangerous the spores actually are while mentioning the beauty.
It's so beautiful. It's hard to believe these spores could kill me. 5 minutes without a mask and I'd be dead.
Since I'm gushing about the spore scene, that means it was also cut. Other scenes that were cut: Lord Yupa's return to the valley and when he is asked to name a newborn girl and to become her godfather. Why? It just shows how well known and trusted he is to the people of the valley, while showing that the people acknowledge and admire Nausicaa's strength and skill. The scene where the villagers are looking for poisonous spores to destroy is great because it tells us that this is a normal occurrence that has been done for many years so that the toxic jungle doesn't spread. Lord Yupa's discovery of Nausicaa's secret garden. This scene is just beautiful and about Nausicaa's reason into going to the jungle, while also showing her discovery about the plant life that no one else has, that they can be harmless if treated with care. Nausicaa leaving with the Tolmekians and the children giving her nuts as a farewell gift. This scene is just sweet and shows how much love the people have for their princess. Nausicaa's childhood memory about her attempt to protect a baby Ohm from the valley leaders. It shows how much closer and understanding she is to the nature of the world. When Nausicaa and Abzal discover the non-toxic underground jungle. This is a big moment in the film that I don't even know what to say about this cut. Gonna speed through the rest of the cuts. Valley citizens destroying the contaminated forest scene, Nausicaa arguing with the Pejite Major about their plans for the giant warrior, Abzal helping Nausicaa escape, Kushana and Kurotawa waiting for the Pejite attack, and the ending credits. Pretty much any scene that was centered on Nausicaa and anything that was slow hit the cutting room floor. This is a big issue because a lot of the character and plot points were lost because of this. The Ohm came off as just aggressive enemies in the film and not creatures trying to protect their environment from those who will harm it. Also, Princess Kushana just came off as just a bad guy. A lot of Miyazaki's films have this theme of the relationship between nature, humanity, and technology. Also pacifism in a world of violence. The antagonists are never straight up bad guys. They come from an understandable place. They are redeemable. Usually his films have strong female leads, and in a sense, Nausicaa was his first one. Describing what is in a Miyazaki film and then seeing what Warriors of the Wind is, everything that is Miyazaki was gone. Warriors of the Wind is the earliest example of an awful American bastardization of a great piece of entertainment, and for many, this was their introduction to Miyazaki. New World did a number to this movie. Not only did they cut a lot of important scenes from the film, but they also changed the name of the characters and location. Nausicaa was changed to Zandra, Princess Kushana turned into Queen Selena, Abzal became Prince Milo, and his homeland Pejite changed to, there is no other way I know how to read this, Placenta. That's only a few of the name changes. Apparently almost all the dialogue of the film was changed in New World's version. I'll link a page that goes into full detail about the changes below if you're interested. There's a lot more to this dub in general, like the dub cast not being told what the film was even about. So why did this happen? Well, you have to think about it like this. At the time, being 1985, Miyazaki was not as well known as he is today. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind technically isn't a Studio Ghibli movie because Ghibli was made the following year. It is considered the start of the studio and now is referred to as one of their movies. New World could easily change the film without at all thinking about the backlash because there would be none. So New World ended up getting away with the changes and even released the film on VHS, and since they already made a deal, they would just sell this version of the film for a little over a decade and nothing could be done about it. But this is Hayao Miyazaki we're talking about. Someone who we know is incredibly passionate about the craft and is really outspoken about it. Miyazaki somehow learned about Warriors of the Wind and was not at all happy about it. He was so upset that the idea of distributing any of his future films outside of Japan was not at all an option for him. He had no interest at all in sharing his films with the rest of the world because of how badly Nausicaa was changed. It doesn't help that Nausicaa, being his first original movie, was also an adaptation of the manga of the same name that he created and worked on for over a decade. A lot of him was in this film all the way down to its origin, so you can understand why he no longer had interest in distributing his films outside of Japan. He got burned incredibly hard and didn't want any of his future films to be changed by a distributor. And that's what happened. For a couple of years, Ghibli kept making hit after hit, and Japan being the only one to see it until 1996, when this little company named the Walt Disney Company reached out to Takuma Shoten, Miyazaki's publisher, and made an agreement. Disney had the home video and theatrical distribution rights to most of Ghibli's films.
Not to mention the voiceover sessions.
Disney wasn't the first studio to court Miyazaki and his company, Studio Ghibli. For over 20 years, American studios had tried to import the master's work.
I turned all of these offers down. However, when Disney approached us, they came with two preconditions. One is that they wanted all of our films, and two was that they would not touch the content and they would not alter the films at all, that there would be no cuts. And I thought, this is an offer of an entirely different order, and I thought maybe partly this is a legacy of Walt Disney.
With this would come the very high quality dubs we know today, and with New World's license for Nausicaa expiring the year before, it was included. Warriors of the Wind is the only film of his to never be released again in the US, and something that he never wants to mention. It still has an important place in anime history. It serves as one of the earliest examples for bad localization, and while yes, we almost never got any of his amazing works because of it, we now have the security that if we watch any future films by him, we'll be seeing them in their true uncut form with a high quality dub that is faithful to it. Even with the Disney partnership, the idea of editing came up with one of his films. The following year, Princess Mononoke hit Japan, being another massive success. Disney obviously wanted to release it in theaters, but asked for some edits mainly because they didn't want their name on a film that was rated PG-13. They wanted it to be more family friendly, and obviously Miyazaki refused. So it was distributed theatrically by another company, Miramax. Even though being a smaller release, Harvey Weinstein, one of the co-founders of Miramax and a powerful producer in Hollywood who was known to cut films as much as possible to make them as commercial as possible, requested for Mononoke to be more family friendly during a meeting with Miyazaki. Miyazaki left the meeting in anger. A few days later, Toshio Suzuki, a producer for Studio Ghibli, sent Harvey Weinstein a real samurai sword with a little note on it that said, "No cuts." 2 years later, America would experience Princess Mononoke untouched with a high quality dub. It was unknown for years if the no-cut incident actually happened until 2005. In an interview with The Guardian, they asked Miyazaki about it. His response? He simply smiled and said, "I defeated him." If you guys hit the end of the video, I always appreciate that, and if you enjoyed it, you may want to stay on the channel because I make videos about anime all the freaking time. And here are the last 2 videos that I made. Bye guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.